From time immemorial, the sovereign nations have inhabited, protected, and preserved the land that is so-called Canada. We acknowledge this fact. The land we serve is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, and the Chippewa. Reelworld's offices are in Toronto, which is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit.
Thank you for joining us today. My name is Fabrice Ravier, and I work at Telefilm Canada. I am an investment analyst and diversity and inclusion advisor, and I will be your moderator for today. I would like to introduce our guest for today. Jason, you want to start?
Hi, everyone. My name is Jason Karman, and I'm the director of Golden Delicious, a telefilm talent to watch recipient in 2020.
Gormman, you want to go ahead?
Hi, everyone. My name is Gormman Lee, and I am the writer of Golden Delicious.
Peggy?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Peggy Lainis. I'm the feature film executive for the Quebec English market, and I lead the Talent to Watch program at Telefilm Canada.
And Ayesha?
Hi, everyone. My name is Ayesha. I'm crashing the party today on this panel. I work as the lead for inclusion initiatives and a content analyst out of our Toronto office on the project financing team, and I joined the team back in November 2020.
Perfect. Thank you, Ayesha. Thank you, everyone. So today we're going to be talking about Golden Delicious, this wonderful project that was submitted to the Talent to Watch program, along with different information that we're going to provide to you about the Talent to Watch. A few housekeeping items. Essentially, you would be able to ask questions. You could use the chat box on your on the YouTube channel, and we'll try our best to go through the questions during the event. But if not, don't worry, we'll have a Q&A session at the end where we'll be able to give you the opportunity to ask some more questions. I guess we could get started. Peggy, do you want to talk to us a little bit about the Talent to Watch program?
Sure. So we're here today. Talent to Watch has been around. It was launched in 2013, and just after the pandemic, we launched a pan-Canadian consultation to reach out to our different past participants, industry stakeholders, just to get some feedback on the program, their experiences. So Talent to Watch is our emerging filmmaker program, which means it's for first-time producers, directors, writers. So after our pan-Canadian consultation, it was clear to us that some changes needed to be made just to kind of bring the program up to date and modernize it a little bit. So we made some exciting changes that were launched for the fiscal 22-23, so the most recent application period. And I think Jason and Gormman will agree that some of the changes are wonderful. Unfortunately, they came after they got Talent to Watch funding. So one of the major changes we did is we increased the grant to the program. So it used to be $125 for a first feature fiction or a theatrical doc. Right now, we've increased that contribution amount to $250,000. Which, we basically heard the message loud and clear from past participants. Making a feature at 125, although it's doable, is not sustainable if you want to build a career and your company through the program. So that's, I think, one of the more exciting changes we made. Another change we made to this year's edition was we broadened the eligibility criteria. We made the program more accessible to different filmmakers from different communities across the country. So we created an Apply Direct stream that's for filmmakers from underrepresented communities. So which means is the key creative team can apply directly to Telefilm with their project, not having to go through one of our industry partners. Our industry partner stream is still there. That is for filmmakers who have gone to either a film school, have gone through an incubator program, one of the festivals that are part of our partner list, or are a member of a co-op that's on our list. And we have a third stream, which has been around for a few years, is the festival stream. That stream is for filmmakers whose past previous shorts screened at one of, at a top tier festival. We have a list of approximately 15 festivals. All this information is in the guidelines. We're not going into too many details today. I encourage everybody to have a look at the guidelines and to inquire within Telefilm if you have any questions. But these are the key changes. And I think the most exciting change I think that we made was creating this mentorship program. So every project that gets selected this year will have an opportunity to be paired up with a mentor. We're working with the National Screen Institute of Canada and Lainis in Quebec. They will be running the mentorship program. So every team will have an opportunity to work with a mentor that will help them along the process from pre-production all the way through distribution. So, this mentor will be your sounding board. You have questions you want, you need, questions about insurance, questions about if you need a lawyer. So it's all these little practical questions that, when you're a first-time filmmaker, you really, don't have the answers to. So we want to make sure every team that gets supported through the program has someone that can guide them along the way.
Thank you, Peggy. That seems very interesting. Those changes looks like it's going to help a lot of producers. I'm looking forward to see the outcome.
Yeah, we're very excited. Yeah.
I have a question for you, Jason and Gormman. Can you tell us a little bit about the experience of submitting to the Talent to Watch program when you guys came in with your projects?
Karman, do you want to start, or you want me to take over?
Please, yeah, I'd be happy for you to start. I'll jump in after. Yeah.
Okay. So with Golden Delicious, I initially applied in 2013 when it was the micro budget program, and we were not selected by our partner organization to move forward. And then I reapplied again in 2019, and we were put forward, but we weren't selected at Telefilm. And then I applied one more time in 2020, and this time I went through. So persistence pays off. And through that process, I actually refined and strengthened the application. And what I could say is really put attention to your one pager. So it's a one-page sheet that encapsulates the synopsis, the theme of your film, who's on your team, for example. So really focusing on that and the imagery that goes with it, and then and then focusing on your video pitch, which became more prevalent after I think 2016 or so. I'm not sure when the video pitch component became a mandatory thing, but it was really helpful to have that sizzle reel, or that 5-minute video pitch that is also a sizzle reel. So focusing on that and make sure that you preserve the tone of the film that you want to tell. That's basically me from a packaging standpoint and preparing it for Telefilm. I don't know, Gormman, do you want to talk about the script itself?
Yeah. I have to say, I don't really recall much about the process of applying in 2013, but I could definitely speak to the two more recent times. I think that applying 2 years in a row, and in that process, we were in conversations with a handful of different partner organizations who, also offered, various levels of feedback and opportunity to work with readers / mentors who offered a lot of feedback on the script. In the 2019 round where we didn't make it. So I think that, as heartbreaking as that was to not get through in 2019, I think that the process ultimately made for a better script. It was extra rounds of script feedback from, as I said, from these different partner organizations, and then it really allowed myself and Jason to regroup for an extra year to really refine and whittle down our story and its themes and our character arcs, and not to mention not to forget, our producer, Kristen Stilling. The three of us had extensive meetings over that 2-year process. And I think the script and the film itself, it's all the better for it.
Great. I'm curious to know, Peggy, can you tell us about the pitfall that usually people fell into when they submit their project at Telefilm Canada for that program? I believe you might be on mute.
You are correct. I can start this off, and Ayesha, you can jump in. I know, Jason, you mentioned the pitch video. That was always a part of the program. From the beginning, that was kind of the feature of this program. The projects were always, the decision making was always based on the pitch video and the supporting documentation, as opposed to our other production programs where there's a thorough script read that is done. So, it's run very much like a pitch competition, talent to watch. So Fabrice, to your question, the pitfalls, I think people see this is their chance to get their first feature made, and it is. Although, in recent years, we've increased the number of projects we supported, but this year with the increase in grant, we've reduced the number of projects. We'll be supporting between 15 and 16 projects, and demand is very high as we've broadened eligibility. So I think that is something that potential applicants need to keep in mind. It's a very competitive process, and not to rush it. I think that's the pitfall. They feel like, oh, okay, I'm halfway there, my script is almost ready, I'll just fine tune it, I'll get I think that's put your best foot forward. Don't come in with a first draft script. Come in with a script that's fairly advanced, almost shooting script. Scripts are always evolving, but you definitely put your best foot forward, especially with talent to watch. You can only submit once. It's a change that was made recently in the current guidelines. So we encourage teams to have a conversation. Working with a partner is great because, as Gormman mentioned it, you get that feedback. You get your script read by industry professionals, friends, at the partner, within the partner institution. So that's the advantage to working with a partner. You get that additional feedback to really make sure that your pitch video is on point, your documentation is concise and clear. And really ask questions. If there's something you're unsure of, reach out to Telefilm, reach out to your partner, reach out to past participants. Those are your best resource. Teams like Jason and Gormman, they can really, provide valuable, real life experience that they've had making their film.
Ayesha, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think Peggy covered it really well, just making sure the business side of it is covered. That I think for us, when we say be production ready, we mean both on the business side and on the creative side. So you want to make sure you get, like Peggy mentioned, you get one shot at talent to watch. You want to make sure that you're ready to shoot that project, and the scale of the budget size matches the project as well as the program as well, because this is a lower budget program than, for example, our production program. It's really geared towards first-time filmmakers. So you want to make sure you're actually in the right lane for that. And really, you want to make sure that you're making your project as competitive as possible, because you're going to be evaluated amongst other very hungry, very competitive, very excellent teams as well. So you want to make sure that you are putting your best foot forward with your project, whether that's around making sure you're looking at the team. If there's any holes in your experience level, you want to fill in with somebody else you want to add to your team. If you want to get another your script looked at one more time and get a really good script editor to review it before you apply, I think that's a good place to start. And I think Jason also mentioned the importance of the pitch video as being really, really crucial. This is a distinct feature of this program. We look at pitch videos very closely in this program specifically, and that's the reason is that it helps us understand all the things together. So the creative, the team, the scale and scope of the project. And so really focus on that. And so you're required to provide a pitch video as well as a pitch document. And so trying to make sure that you're doing interesting things with your pitch, perhaps that match your topic or match your subject of your movie, or maybe it's a straight to camera conversation that you're having because that's the type of topic and the type of team that you are and what you're making. Whatever you're doing, it has to make sense with the project and has to make sense with what you're trying to do. And the timing really has to be right for you to be coming in that year. So this is the year that you're coming in. Gormman, you mentioned this, having the script, having an extra attention to the script, having an extra attention for the team. I think those are all super important. And the committees want to see a level of thoughtfulness all the way through, from the creative to the budget to who else is attached to the project.
Thank you, Ayesha. A lot of very good advice here. Thank you very much. Speaking of, we were talking about pitch video. I believe, Jason, you might have your pitch video. Do you think you'll be able to show it to us?
Yeah, I could certainly have it show.
I believe there might be a little bit of technical difficulty, guys. So please take that into consideration if it's lagging a little bit or if there's problem with sound.
Okay. So yeah, so Jordan can play it actually.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
A little bit of technical difficulties here.
We need some elevator music, Fabrice. Can you do that?
I'm not that gifted, but I will. There you go, it's playing.
Golden Delicious is a coming-of-age drama about a Vancouver-based Asian-Canadian teen caught between his father's expectations, his girlfriend's dreams, and his newly awakened feelings for the boy next door. In his last year of high school, Jake's father pushes him to try out for the basketball team, a dream he once wished for himself. Jake's girlfriend, Valerie, pulls him in another direction. When Alex, an openly gay teen with a love for basketball, moves in across the street, Jake fully devotes himself to the sport. When Jake makes the team, he realizes it's not what he wanted. He got swept up in Alex's dream simply to gain his affections. This leaves Jake questioning everything he's ever known about himself. Confused and paralyzed with anxiety, Jake isolates himself until he's finally outed as gay. With the truth revealed, Jake and his father reconcile their dreams and resentments together. With his friends and family behind him, he finds the courage to be himself and seek his future. Golden Delicious is a story about finding the strength to be yourself amidst the expectations others have of you. Hi, my name is Jason Karman, and I'm an award-winning director based in Vancouver. I'm the director of Golden Delicious. My films have been influenced by my formative years with family and my contemporary queer adult life.
I'm Gormman Lee. I'm a writer on acclaimed genre hits Van Helsing and The Order. And now, I'm the writer of Golden Delicious.
I'm Kristen Stilling, an independent producer who has produced more than 15 short films.
As an Asian immigrant, I have always been interested in stories of belonging. My parents served as role models in my teenage years, imposing their cultural and personal values upon me. But I didn't necessarily receive their support when I came out. As a result, I have written and directed 16 shorts exploring themes of reconciliation, measuring ourselves into role models, and male fragility. As a filmmaker who studied in documentaries, I'm influenced by a lot of docu-style camera work. I will use this camera style when we shoot full screen, conveying this as real life. At the same time, I'm going to flip the aspect ratio and get into the world of the teen using Instagram stories. Set in Vancouver, Canada, Golden Delicious takes place in the present day. I will use vertical aspect ratios for a lot of the intense, fast-paced personal moments. The fragmented nature of how we live today creates high anxiety for teens. I will shoot close to the eye line when using Instagram. Contrasting this look, I will shoot real-life situations of Jake with side profiles, having him withhold his feelings and showing his difficulty with commitment. My most recent short, Lions in Waiting, is a coming-of-age drama about a closeted Asian hockey player who gets hazed, and this complicates his coming out. This film is about finding the courage to accept yourself first before worrying about others. Similar to Lions in Waiting, there will be cultural elements like saving face in Golden Delicious, but the emphasis will be on how a closeted teen finds himself in a digital age when paternal pressure is heavy on him.
I grew up in East Vancouver among first and second generation kids from Chinese, Vietnamese, and Indian backgrounds. We were never outsiders at school, but we never saw our coming of age experience represented on screen, which is something I've always wanted to fix. So when Jason came to me with his own experience of coming to terms with his queerness in an Asian household, I knew immediately where our stories could intersect and merge.
We've identified teens and young adults as our primary audience, and we think it's important to use the imagery that is prevalent in their lives in order to better connect with them.
We plan to recruit some of our youngest cast and crew members to do social media takeovers. This way they can connect with the niche communities and subcultures in a way that is authentic. We also plan on hiring a marketing expert to use behind-the-scenes content to further target communities of interest using hashtags and geopolitical ads. Lastly, we will be using our extensive knowledge of festivals to create a strategic festival plan for the first 6 months after the film is complete.
Golden Delicious has been awarded a BC Arts Council grant of $25,000 to move forward. The script has also been awarded placements in the Praxis Center for Screenwriters workshops in 2008 and 2009. And now our team is looking to make our first feature film.
I believe
Oh, what happened?
one of those technical lag. Okay.
I think
Well,
the video was wrapping up around that point
yeah,
anyway.
that's what I figured. Very nice video. Really, really impressive. It looks like you guys really had a good idea of a specific idea of what you guys wanted to do. I can clearly see it in that pitch. I have a question for you, Gorman. And I know you talked a little bit about it when it comes to the writing. I was wondering, what was your process when it came to the writing? I had the pleasure to see the movie at the premiere, and
Thank you.
one of the things that I really enjoy is your ability to be able to kind of like stories, relationship, this parallel between the relationship. I don't want to give too much for the people that haven't seen the movie yet, but the parallel between the relationship of the main character, this sort of love triangle similar to the one from the father. I was just wondering, and also someone mentioned, I know you talked about how you took a lot of feedback from people around. Can you tell us a little bit about the process more specifically, and also if you could tell us about the organization that helped you with the feedback someone mentioned in the chat?
Sure. I think, at the end of the day, Golden Delicious is very much a script that's the product of many, many, many workshops. As I mentioned in that pitch video, a very, very early draft, the first draft of this script, went through the Praxis Center for Screenwriters competition and workshop series back in 2008 and 2009. And after that, as Jason mentioned, we made an attempt to apply for this program in 2013. And then, we took a little bit of time to regroup, develop our careers along parallel paths, and then, coming back in 2019 and 2020. So, it's been a very long journey of rewriting, getting feedback from anywhere and everywhere that we could. In 2019, when we first applied, Jason, please step in if I'm getting any details wrong. I believe that we applied through 2 different partner organizations. Is that right? It was.
Yeah. So we did get money from BC Arts Council first in 2019, and I believe that helped plant a seed for other organizations, because once they saw that one funding agency had committed to helping Golden Delicious, the risk was less for those organizations to come on board, right? So I think that really helped going through that process of applying to a smaller arts council, and then afterwards working your way up. I did also provide some feedback on the queer experiences, just to make sure that they're authentic. So that's my contribution there. And then I think we also we apply through Cineworks regularly, and they had some feedback for us. And
UBC as well. I think in 2019, UBC connected us with someone who was an alumnus of UBC, and I believe also served on their Talent to Watch committee. And she, Jennifer Monroe, spent an afternoon with the three of us, giving us extensive script notes. And sorry, just to backtrack a tiny bit, the writing process between myself, Jason, and Kristen, we set many internal deadlines between just the three of us. So we had many drafts and polishes and revisions before, we would look ahead to calendars for deadlines from the Talent to Watch partnership organization. So, we would know, okay, well, these deadlines are in, let's say, January. So the three of us would have deadlines for let's get something by November, and I would deliver. And then there'd be a round of notes and, okay, well, let's get this polish in by December so that we're well ahead of, UBC and Cineworks's deadlines, which was then ahead of the Talent to Watch deadlines, which I believe were sort of February, March-ish. So, it was a process of just diligently having many deadlines and being open to, sort of juggling your other jobs and life commitments to sort of devote some time to writing the script and making sure, as Jason said, that, we got all the different perspectives and POVs right, and that we did as much justice to those experiences as we could.
What I hear from what you're saying is that it looks like it was really a teamwork, like everyone contributed and you were very open with everyone's feedback in regards to the project. For a project like this, where you have everyone, basically everyone's different. Sometimes we'll see project where we have a director who's also the writer. In your situation, it was really two different people plus the producer, of course. So it's very impressive that you guys were able to kind of get it together, agree on certain things. I do have a question for Peggy and Ayesha, perhaps.
Jason had his hand up.
Oh, sorry.
Oh no, that's okay. I just wanted to say, while Gormman was working concurrently, while Gormman was working on the script, myself and Kristen, we were concurrently working on our careers. I was making short films and making sure that I have a body of work that I could provide, and Kristen also worked on her short films as well, and understanding the rules around that. Independent producing I'm speaking of, right? So I just wanted to say that we all had specific tasks that we were focusing on in order to all come together in our second application 2019. So
nice. Thank you for that. Yes, Peggy, what I wanted to ask was, seeing that they are such a very focused team, I was wondering, sometimes I would assume that you have situations where a producer is also the writer, so more of a one-person team versus a full team of different people. Can you tell us if that makes a difference in terms of when projects are submitted to that program?
It does happen. We don't see it very often where we have, one, what I call a one-person show, where it's a writer, producer, director, wearing all three hats. While we don't disallow it, we tend to discourage it. It's kind of hard to focus on your craft on set when you're also worrying about, your location the next day, and, is your cast, especially now with COVID and all the special measures. So we very much encourage teams to have, a focus, a producer that holds that role. That way, the director can really focus on his craft on set. We won't just, the project won't be penalized if the team can demonstrate they have that experience, or that they plan on working with an experienced production manager, a line producer, eventually down the line if they do secure funding. But especially for a first feature, it's hard enough to make a first feature, especially with limited resources. We're talking about maximum $500,000 budgets here. So they won't be penalized, but it is taken into account in decision making if the experience is not demonstrated within the application package. I know, Ayesha, we just went through the most recent round of decision making, and I don't think we saw very many teams come in as one person wearing all three hats.
Yeah, I think you're right, Peggy. I think folks were a little bit looking to make sure that they weren't boxing themselves into roles that they weren't able to fulfill when on a feature scale. Because as you know, this program really is for first-time filmmakers in the feature space. So folks are coming from the TV world, or they're coming from making shorts, and they're coming from all those places. But really, a feature film is its own endeavor. It's a whole process, and you want to make sure you're well set up with your team, with your producer. And even if you have had to wear that hat elsewhere in your career to be able to work, it doesn't mean that's what you want to bring to this project. And also, you want to be able to work with someone who is a producer and they really do want to be a producer, or someone who is a director and they really have a creative vision, and you're the writer and you really want to focus on that element of it. So I think I see more writer-director combos. I see fewer producer overlap with other roles.
Thank you for sharing, Ayesha. It looks like you guys were well together, like a very focused. You guys did a great job in terms of working together. On top of the challenges that comes with a tight budget, you guys actually decided to shoot during COVID. So I was just wondering if there were specific challenges that you guys have experienced while shooting on set.
Do you want me to answer that question, Gormman?
Yeah, I think you're far better positioned to answer this question than me. Yeah.
Well, we didn't plan to shoot up during COVID. It just happened. So we knew that once everyone got vaccinated, there was going to be a rush to shoot projects. So we made a choice to try to shoot it ahead of that curve. And that's why we shot it in March 2021, before vaccinations were available. And that posed some challenges. Rehearsals, rehearsal space was not really available. We had to rehearse the basketball stuff outside in the cold in February while it's raining. The high school was one of our biggest surprises. We actually, I try to reach out in the community and create partnerships with organizations, giving them an opportunity giving organizations an opportunity to mentor up and coming filmmakers. So we had an understanding with North Burnaby Secondary, and they were supposed to offer us a severely discounted rate, but unfortunately, with COVID persisting, we lost that location, and we had to shoot in a newly abandoned or newly empty school, and that added another $16,000 to our budget as a result. And I made the choice to. Me and Kristen, consulting, we decided to move our post-production budget and put it into our production, and then I took the risk of doing an Indiegogo campaign afterwards to try to make up for that gap. If that makes any sense. So there was a lot of adapting. We prioritized safety versus efficiency. So some of the shots were. A lot of our days were slower as a result, but instead of fighting it, we just kind of embraced it and be really smart about our shot types and shot design. If that makes any sense? Yeah. So in order to be able to capture, so yeah, that's how we were able to manage all this in a nutshell.
Impressive. It seems like you guys were again very coordinated. It looks like there was no issue. I'm just wondering, in terms of creative control, how did you guys work it out between each other? I know that you talked about a lot of feedback between each other, but is there situations where someone has the last word? Or I'm assuming for emerging talents that would like to work as a team, and how did you have like a specific things where you say, okay, we're gonna go this way or this way, or?
Would you like me to answer that question?
Please,
Gormman?
yeah.
Okay. Well, so I have final creative control, and that's because of Canada Council for the Arts. They require a specific the applicant to have that. But when I operate, I work in a collaborative fashion, and I listen to Gormman and to Kristen and Alfonso and what they have to say. Right. I actually find that better than having somebody just rubber stamp a choice, because it enriches the work when you have a dialogue. So Gormman, this script is it comes from Gormman, it comes from his head, and so I would always be in consultation with him. Thank you for being accessible, by the way, during that time. Right. I think we got so when I work with him, I hear him, I listen to him, and I also try to preserve his voice and also inform him of the reality of the situation. Sometimes, we're running out of time, and I'll just say, can we cut this scene, or would it be okay if we fold this scene with another? And I would offer imagery or symbolism that would help back up my argument, for example, right? So that way, it's never like it's my way or the highway. I'm not going to listen to you. So so that's how I maintain the creative control and hopefully earn the respect of the people around me. So
I think that Jason absolutely did earn everybody's respect with his collaborative nature, 100%. Just to add my quick 2 cents, I mean, because it's such a long process to work on this script, I mean, Jason and I and Kristen as well just had so many long conversations, and I think, there was never a note that was quickly dismissed by anyone. I think we had very long conversations about, every beat, every moment, every interaction between the characters. Everything was extremely deeply considered. And Jason's absolutely right. Once we got into production, I mean, it was mostly Jason and Kristen's show at that point. But obviously issues come up in production. You have to change the location, something screws up with the prop, or there's a continuity issue or what have you. And yeah, we would jump on the phone at the end of every night and be like, okay, how did today go? What do we need to tweak anything? And it was always better to have 2 or 3 brains to problem solve an issue in as creative a fashion as possible. Because sometimes it's like, well, everyone needs some sleep, and back at it tomorrow. How can we fix this issue or this problem or what have you? So it was really great to have that team, that brain trust.
Can I ask a question? Was it the first time the 3 of you were collaborating on one project together?
Yeah, Jason and I had collaborated on a couple of shorts where I acted as a story editor, and I had worked with Kristen on in the factual world television space in a different capacity. But yeah, I think it's the first time that all 3 of us had worked together. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I worked with Kristen on an NFB documentary, and I learned to trust her instincts. So.
Very interesting. It doesn't show when we look at the movie. It really feels smooth, and even right now, as we're having this conversation, I can tell there's a lot of respects and very smooth conversation between the 2 of you guys. Well, all of us, but I mean, it's very impressive.
I think, sorry, and I think that's what the word you use, trust.
Yes.
I think that's very important when teams are coming together. You have to have that trust, where you trust each other to push back or to ask the questions or to deal with the difficult situations that may arise. I think we get that question asked to us a lot, is like, how do I find my producer? How do I pick? And I think that's key to building these relationships and putting your team together.
Thank you, Peggy. So I'm just looking at some of the questions in the chat. someone is asking about digital marketing plan component of the application, how you went about getting insight and consultation on that component before securing the funding to actually hire them. Can you talk to us a little bit about that, Jason?
Sure. So I've done 17 shorts prior to Golden Delicious, and so I've had experience with working with festivals and seeing how they can amplify the voice of a short film. So I took that information, and I also started researching on different distribution companies, like aggregate versus sales agent, and I think we quickly discovered that the target audience for this is the younger generation because of the social media component, right? And in order to engage with that, we needed to have a social media person. So right now we have a social media person helping us. Her name is Sonia, working behind the scenes. So that was part of our plan. And Kristen has some connections with PR agency. She used to work for the Whistler Film Festival, so she connected us with Cold Water Communications, our PR agency, and they've been great to work with, and they just make sure that the message, the tone is preserved in our media pitches. So that's what's happening now. I mean, before, when we were applying to this, we used our brain trust and basically, think about possible scenarios, using our experiences to see where this could lead to, and be strategic with our festival rollout. So right now we have 9 film festivals, and that's intentional. So we wanted to have an Ontario premiere at Reelworld, so that was intentional. That was great. So
you wanna speak to that, Peggy? I believe you on mute.
That's twice. I'm very sorry. I just wanted to clarify about the digital marketing plan. That is that was a requirement in previous editions of the program. Since Jason and Gormman, since you applied, we've updated that requirement. That's an improvement we made, where we don't require teams to hire digital experts. So it's really teams are expected to to provide a promotion and marketing plan, but not specifically a digital marketing plan. I just wanted to make that clarification. Also, why it's important to go back to our website, refresh on the new requirements for the program guidelines, the updated program guidelines.
Can I add also? I really appreciated the word that Jason used, strategic, which is, what is the type of film we're making and what's being asked of us to describe in this pitch video or in this package or in this document. And I think that's really, really key. It's having those documents and your version of your pitch video or your document really speak to the actual content that you're making and the project that you're making and the team that's part of it. I think strategic is a really, really great word, because you want to be able to demonstrate that your creative choices are, purposeful, but not getting into the nitty gritty. I think you can see from your video, you can see the type of film the creative team wants to make exactly. So it's strong, it's focused, there's originality, and then there's which is why I think is one of the most important things. It's demonstrating cinematic appeal, because you're trying to make a feature film. You're trying to move away from maybe other modes that you've worked in before and really demonstrate that your project is feature ready. And so I think I really appreciated that word that you used, and really trying to tailor each tool to speak to the strengths of your project, I think is a great move.
I do see that we have a lot of questions in the chat, so we're going to start the Q&A session. Is there a difference in judging between applying individually or nominated by a partners institute? I guess that would be for Peggy or Ayesha. I think we talked a little bit about it, but
Yeah, there is no one's penalized or gets special point for coming in with a partner. It really comes to helping the teams, come in with the strongest package possible. I mean, this year we have a mix of projects that we're supporting, partner nominated projects and also applied direct stream projects. So there's no, to me, the only advantage would be you have that ability to get that feedback from, your nominating partner. But it also, I mean, the benefit of applying directly is, you come in directly, you build your team, and you don't have to go through that pre-vetting process through the partner stream.
And just to add to that, I think, like you were saying, you're not penalized one way or the other, but in reading the packages this year, there were some that had very compelling letters of support from their partners attached to the project. And that does make, if you're on the advisory committee, it makes you look at that project with a sort of an additional layer of scrutiny, watch the video and really see if those things that are promised in that support letter are delivered in that video. So I think if it helps strengthen your application to have a partner support you and really endorse you, I think that's a good thing to include in your package. And so if you have that opportunity to work with a partner, you can definitely do that. If you don't think it's going to match the vibe of your project or your team or the schedule that you want to work in, then you don't have to.
These are some very good advice, very jewels, lots of jewels here. I hope you guys are really listening and taking notes.
Can I
Gormman,
can I just add something to that? Just speaking to the process of going through a partner organization, like we approached, as I said before, a handful of different organizations, and not everyone accepted us. And I think even in that process of being, vetted and or rejected, already gives you a ton of feedback, just that rejection process. So I think, just speaking from my experience, I think that going through that stream only made the script and the application that much stronger.
I agree.
That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I always like to say notes are free and you can either take them or not. And I think any kind of the process that you're describing, it's iterative and it helps you go back and look at your work and maybe strengthen it or maybe position it more strategically to a different partner. So it's all useful if you choose to use it, I think.
Thank you, guys. It looks like there's a question. I believe it might be for Jason. Why was there a lot of hockey in this pitch video soon when it's about basketball to show movement instead of shooting?
Well, there's a lot of hockey because I come from a documentary background and I had to break out of talking heads and learn how to work with the camera and movement expression. So that's one reason I wanted to show that I could communicate a story using movements and coordinate that with action. The second thing is a lot of my stories are about the formative years in a person's life, and I'm exploring the idea of how do you find yourself in a competitive environment. That's always intrigued me because, hey, we are all here competing with one another sometimes, right? And so as a young person, that can be confusing when you have to be selective and about things and who and you're exposed to certain things as well. So sports intrigues me, and so I can correlate that from dance to hockey to basketball, potentially curling, right? So that's the reason why I used the basketball. I used hockey for the basketball.
Okay. Thank you, Jason. Gorman, which partner organization did you work with to get the feedback? I believe you did touch it a bit on it, but
Yeah. So in 2019, as I mentioned before, we had UBC provided us with an afternoon where we received feedback from someone on their committee. That was Jennifer Monroe. But we received feedback from every partner organization. We were in talks for the 2020 cycle about going through with Toronto Real Asian, and they provided us some feedback. That's right, Jason? I'm pretty sure that, yeah. And
yeah.
ultimately it didn't work out with them, but they gave us like really great feedback and things that we really had a couple of conversations about in the brain trust of the three of us. I should also say that in between 2019 and 2020, in between those two cycles of Talent to Watch, you know, after we had submitted in 2019 and we were waiting for the decision, like we never stopped. Jason and Kristen went out to all these different pitch festivals and sessions like that, and we got feedback from like GLAD and from the Film Finance Forum and like all these different organizations that are not even necessarily partnered up with Talent to Watch, and we just used everything that we could to make everything better. Sorry, Jason, you want to just jump in there?
You just jogged a piece of memory. Yeah, I did pitch at Whistler. I was shortlisted to pitch, and we got feedback for our project, and yeah, we got a lot of great feedback from Inside Out Film Finance Forum. So we were selected.
Right. Yeah.
We were shortlisted for that, and then I attended, and I pitched to like GLAD, for example, which is the gay and lesbian advocacy group in the U.S. Just to make sure that everything that we were covering all the angles regarding that. So it's nonstop, as you know. So for those of you who are not comfortable pitching, you'll have to get comfortable in order to make this a reality. It's just the way it works. So.
Okay, thank you for that. I believe this one might be for Peggy and Ayesha. Should the scripts be within a certain scope, or should we shoot for the stars with scripts? I guess they're asking for if they take any, also if the script take place both in Canada and internationally.
That's a great question. We have to keep in mind this is a emerging filmmaker program. The budget range is between $250,000 and $500,000. So shooting for the stars may not be such a great idea. You got to keep that in mind when your project is being reviewed by the committee. That's one of the things that they look at. Can this project be pulled off in this budget range with the amount, the grant that they'll be securing from Telefilm? So it's very important to maybe the script you think you want to be your first project, maybe that's not the right one for a Talent to Watch. So really keep that in mind when you're putting your application together. We always get a few where we're reviewing, we're like, this is a great project, but it deserves a $1-2 million budget, not a $500,000 budget.
Yeah, I think just to add to Peggy's note, really, I think you can shoot for the stars in terms of the quality of the script and make perhaps the tone and the type of story. Maybe it's a sci-fi that you can do on an extremely low budget because of the type of tropes that you're invoking, or you're making like a throwback 70s sci-fi, which can be done on a much smaller budget. Whatever your interest is, I think it has to make sense with the team, and it has to make sense with the project overall, and really has to make sense, like Peggy was saying, with the program itself. So perhaps the baby that you've been nursing for a long time of this, I don't know why I went into this metaphor, sorry, that you've been taking care of for this all this time, this one script that you really want to see made, perhaps that's not the right scale for Talent to Watch. Perhaps that's more of a production level. Maybe that's a higher than $1 million budget, and you don't want to be underselling that idea or trying to make something fit that doesn't really fit the program, because that's something an advisory committee can see very easily.
And we have supported projects that did shoot internationally. They, a couple of days, in Mexico, wherever, but, it's, you have to remind yourself, this is a micro budget program. So, be realistic and put your best foot forward, and really, yes, bring the, your best project in, but, don't forget, this is a first feature. You want to get it right.
For emerging talent. Another question that came in, what's the timeline for Talent to Watch? How long do production have to deliver a final locked and call it cut after they submit it, I assume?
I believe we've updated that requirement right now. I think it's 24 months from securing funding. But we have 24 months in there. We need to have parameters, but we are flexible. We're not it's a conversation. If you see like the pandemic happened and
COVID, yeah.
nobody went to camera, or life happens. So definitely right now it's 24 months. But once you start, if your project does get greenlit and you work with Telefilm, that relationship, you keep us up to date. You have a conversation with us. We're there. We're your partner in this endeavor. So we're there to help you make the best project.
Thank you for that. There's a question that might seem a little bit personal, but I don't know if you're comfortable answering, Jason. When you were developing your film career by making shorts, did you have another source of income?
Yes. Yes. So prior to 2016, I was basically working odd jobs, and I was doing. I embarked on a self-directed learning path, and I reached a ceiling in around 2016. And actually, it was Gormman who kind of encouraged me to go back to school and do an MFA at UBC in film production and creative writing. And I know that sometimes going back to school later on in life can be a very scary thing. So it was nice to have that advice from Gormman, mentor at that time. And so I went in there and did 3 years of that. And now I teach directing and documentary filmmaking at a couple of schools in the Lower Mainland. So so that piece of paper has really helped me with being taken more seriously.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. A very personal question, but I understand that that's a lot of emerging talent is probably experiencing different things and ask themselves that question. So we're gonna wrap up soon. Perhaps I could go with the last questions. I believe they'll be geared towards the Telefilm team. Some people would like to know, what does it mean we can only submit once? Like we can only submit the same project once, or as a writer director, you only have one chance to submit?
The same project can be submitted once. As a writer director, you can come back with different projects. But yeah, if you come in with the same project, you have one shot.
And just to add to that, you may not be like, if you're out in the business of making films and you've been able to make features after and you were not successful in applying for Talent to Watch, really this program is geared towards folks who are making their first feature. So you may not be in the right place with this program if you're already out there making features and have not been successful with applying. So it's a good idea to, like Peggy said, go and read the guidelines. Make sure you read them top to bottom. Also read the essential information guide. And we also have a little evaluation grid that's attached to the program that you can see what we look at to evaluate your projects, and really making sure that you're in the right lane when you're applying to Talent to Watch.
Thank you, Ayesha. So I think we're getting close to an end. Perhaps we could close. I would like to ask all of you if there's one thing that you wanted people to remember from that session. Perhaps we could start with you, Gormman. Or maybe something that you're working on, whatever you're most comfortable.
I can answer both of those questions. I think the takeaway that I want everyone to leave this with is that there's no bad note. I think take the feedback. Stole it. There's no bad note. Feedback comes from everywhere. And even if you don't take that note, I mean, the decision not to do that, I think, as long as you're making a clear and concise decision there, also makes your script better, makes the whole package better. So I think get your stuff read. Let mentors and peers and friends and family and everyone look over your script. I think especially if the story's coming from a personal place. Getting that feedback from everyone can only make it that much stronger. As for what I'm working on next, I was a writer-producer on a series for Netflix called The Imperfects, which is on their The whole series is streaming right now, so go check it out. Next up, I wrote for The Lake season 2, so that'll be out next summer on Amazon Prime.
Nice. Jason?
So what advice can I provide through this process? I would say think about when you're doing your project, think about how you're going to run it ethically, because it's going to be quite stressful, and you may have to decide on cutting corners. But think about who you're going to affect by doing so, and how do you conduct yourself on set when when you are when you're trying to make your day, because people will remember you well after you finish your film, and you want to be able to work with them later on, and you want them to also champion your film as well. You need that. You can't do it all by yourself. So that's my advice there. And then in terms of what am I working on next, it's I don't want to say too much right now. I just want to say, like, I've been the Reelworld experience has been great, and I am in conversation with a couple of writers through this event, or through this festival. So thank you so much, Reelworld.
Nice. Peggy?
I think that's great advice from Gormman and Jason. I think for me, this is an amazing program. Golden Delicious, Jason, you said 9 festivals lined up. Just recently at TIFF, we had 6 Town to Watch projects at TIFF. So just because, these are very low budget projects, they're also very amazing projects. My advice is ask questions, speak to Telefilm, speak to past participants. Any information you get can only help make your application stronger.
Ayesha, do you still have one? Although you got
Yeah. Even though Gorman stole mine, I will say cinematic, I think, is a good word. Cinematic vision, I think, is really, really important, especially when you're coming from different modes of working in the audiovisual industry. So if you're coming from the factual space, if you're coming from unscripted, if you're coming from the commercial world or the TV world, we shouldn't be able to see that in your documents. We should be able to see a fully realized, original, thoughtful, focused cinematic vision. And what can you do to imbue your project with that and your team with that? I think that's really, really important. And the second, I'll give you a twofer. The second word I would say is urgency. Also, like the urgency of your story. Is there an urgency to it? Is there a reason this particular story needs to be told at this time? I think those are really, really crucial things to look for when we're trying to look at teams and the stories that they bring together, and we're trying to build a slate of projects that we want to support this year. We want to support the ones that have a great cinematic vision and have an urgency in their story.
Thank you. We went a little bit over. So I would like to thank everyone. I would like to thank Gormman, Jason, the team of Golden Delicious for this wonderful movie, but also this presentation, to have been able to open up so much. I hope was helpful to everyone. Thank you, Peggy, Ayesha, Telefilm, showing that Telefilm is there to help emerging creative teams, and that you are reachable if they have any questions or concern. And I'd like to thank also the people behind the Reelworld Festival that helped us out putting this event together. And I hope that everyone that was logged in learned a lot. And I wish you all the best.
Thank you, Fabrice.
Thank you, Fabrice.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Fabrice.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye, everyone.